Oh, hello. You know, I've been thinking, if there's one card type that's significantly less good in Commander than other formats, it's Planeswalkers, right? With not just one, but 3 players able to throw creatures in to attack them, or even fire off removal spells, they're a lot easier to keep under control. That doesn't stop them from being great cards to run, though. Some of the effects available on them are powerful, and they can often tilt the balance of power and the pace of play in a completely different way to any other permanent type in the game. But which are the best ones for Commander? What do I recommend? Well, sit tight, and I'll take you through my picks for the 10 Planeswalkers that I think are the best for the Commander format. It's very different from the ones that you might say are the best for 1v1 60-card formats. But first, a quick word about this video. This video is brought to you by Raycon. Do you like to listen to loud, obnoxious music? If you're my neighbor, then yes, you absolutely do. Especially at 3 a.m., you miserable. So, you should maybe consider some wireless earbuds like the everyday E25s from Raycon, or just basic manners and an awareness that other people exist in the world. Either way, Raycon's newest model, the Everyday E25 earbuds, are their best ones yet. With 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, and a more compact design that gives you a nice, noise-isolating fit. Most people say these sound just as amazing as other top audio brands you know. And you know what's great? Raycon has a 45-day free return policy, so you can make sure they're the pair of wireless earbuds for you. So if you're in the market for ways not to be a loud, selfish, absolute cretin of a neighbor to me specifically, or maybe you just don't want the world to know your terrible, laughable taste in music, then go to buyraycon.com/Tolarian community or click the link in this video's description now to get 15% off your first purchase and start behaving with basic human decency towards the people who are trying to sleep, or maybe they just want to sit in their backyard and not have to hear your incessant noise blaring constantly. Raycons. Think of your neighbors. Now, let me just get one thing out of the way. I'm talking about the best Planeswalkers for being in the 99. So, sadly, Lord Windgrace is not going to make my top 10. Despite being a very powerful commander for lands matter strategies, what makes Windgrace so good is having him in the command zone, available to be cast multiple times per game. If you're building a Windgrace deck, then sure, he's very, very strong and can accelerate your game plan very quickly. But in the 99, though, I don't feel he makes this list. And so, what do I feel does? Well, let's take a look. Coming in at number 10 is Vivien Reid. Vivien Reid is always good in a game of Commander. Artifacts and enchantments are some of the strongest game pieces, and it's rare there won't be a target for her -3 ability. If there aren't any at the time you play her, then no worry, take a survey of the battlefield. Flying creatures are the bane of many a Planeswalker, and more than that, are at the heart of many popular Voltron strategies. Being able to destroy a creature with flying is incredibly useful for a Planeswalker, and so Vivien Reid can usually come down and thin out the threats to her continued existence. If you think you can get more than one turn out of her, or you're comfortably ahead, then her +1 is also pretty great. Being able to look through 4 cards to take a land or creature keeps the cards flowing, and puts her at a respectable 6 loyalty. Her ultimate is gravy, and probably won't come up that often. Pretty nice to get indestructible vigilant trampling creatures permanently though. All in all, Vivien gets a relevant removal ability, plus card advantage, and comes in at a pretty high 5 loyalty. So go give her a go. Number 9 is the Collector of Tales herself, Tamiyo. Just because one Tamiyo didn't make it onto my list doesn't mean she didn't make it at all. Tamiyo, Collector of Tales, is the first War of the Spark walker to make this list, and well, let me tell you, she won't be the last, okay? They're all busted, and anyway. Tamiyo is a 4-mana Planeswalker that comes with 5 loyalty. Her static means that spells and abilities opponents control can't cause you to discard cards or sacrifice permanents. While that does mean a Torment of Hailfire will always burn you out quicker than playing Theros Beyond Death standard, it's one of the only weaknesses of this card. The static is a great way to get around Aristocrats decks big on Grave Pact, or the new Tiny Bones Commander. There are plenty of these effects in EDH, and having some immunity to them, even for a turn or two, can be a great thing. Her +1 ability will rarely draw you a card unless you can rearrange the top of your library, but come on, you're in Simic. You're telling me you're not playing cards like Sylvan Library, Miri's Guile, Cavalier of Gales, and other brainstorm effects? What it does do, though, is let you fill your graveyard to take advantage of the many recursion effects available to these colors. And what do you know, her -3 ability is Regrowth. It's not hard to keep walkers growing with Proliferation and other effects when playing Simic, and chances are you can get value out of Tamiyo before she eventually is taken down. It's also possible to really take advantage of that repeatable recursion to rebuy powerful removal and bounce effects, ensuring other planeswalkers can get to ultimate territory quickly. Scary. Alright, let's just get this out of the way now. Number 8 is Teferi, Time Raveler. That's right. Speaking of cards that can make the rest of your game plan better, look who it is. Yes, we all know this has been a groan-inducing card in all formats that he's been playable in, and as such, Commander is not immune from his powerful abilities. The one to really get excited about in EDH is his static, which reads each opponent can cast spells only anytime they can cast a sorcery. If you're a fan of Grand Abolisher, Tidal Barracuda, or Dosan, the Falling Leaf, chances are you're wanting to pull off a sweet combo and have nobody interrupt you. Well, Teferi's throwing his hat into the ring is another way to make that happen. There is some downside, of course. If another player tries to combo off, your other opponents won't be able to stop them either. But all in all, this Teferi is very strong in decks that want this effect. His abilities aren't too shabby either. His -3 bounces an artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand and draws a card. This can bounce something relevant or just reset your commander that has been stuck with Darksteel Mutation. His +1 is on the surface pretty underwhelming, but being able to use your 7 mana to play Teferi and hold up Wrath of God until the last possible moment is pretty sweet. Number 7 is Nissa, Who Shakes the World. When it comes to EDH, there's nothing better than doubling your mana. Whether you're a fan of Mirari's Wake, doubling Cube, or just a good old-fashioned Gauntlet of Power. There are plenty of decks that really enjoy this effect. One of my favorites is actually Regal Behemoth, actually. And getting the Monarch in Commander is so sweet. That said, being able to get a mana doubler that also untaps one of the lands you use to pay for it, that's a pretty good deal. Well, that's what Nissa, Who Shakes the World can offer you. Nissa is a 5 mana, 5 loyalty walker, and her +1 untaps a non-creature land you control, putting 3 +1/+1 counters on it. It becomes a vigilant, hasty creature that's still a land. This is great for protecting Nissa and making her effectively cost 4 mana. However, when you throw her static ability, which adds additional green every time you tap a forest for mana, that's potentially going to make her cost an effective 3 mana the turn she comes down, and it's all upwards from there. Nissa requires you to either be in mono green or a green-based 2 or 3 color deck that is playing all the basic typed dual lands. Think Scattered Groves, Stomping Grounds, Canopy Vista, etc. Provided you can support her, though, she can take you from turn 5 to turn 7 the turn you play her, and when you untap, you'll potentially be on turn 12 mana-wise. All the while, she can keep animating your lands, or if you'd rather she didn't, she doesn't have to. That ability is up to 1. Up to you. Her ultimate shouldn't come up too often if your playgroup has enough answers, but if it does, being able to give your lands permanent indestructible while ramping out every last forest from your deck is game-winning, to say the least. Coming in at number 6 is Tezzeret the Seeker. Tezzeret the Seeker has been a powerful planeswalker from the day he was printed, and it's safe to say that nothing will ever take that away from him. His +1 ability is Ramp in Blue. Untapping 2 artifacts can really bump up your mana production, especially if one of them is a Basalt Monolith or a Soul Ring. The fact it's on a +1 is very good too, as it'll mean he can stick around for longer. His -X is where the action's at, though. Even if you're not going for a -1 to fetch out Sensei's Divining Top in your Elsha of the Infinite Storm deck, you can still get a lot of value out of his tutor ability. It puts the artifact into play for starters, meaning it can't be countered. What's more, you can -0 here and grab out an artifact land like Darksteel Citadel or Seat of the Synod. That's ramp in blue. Tezzeret is versatile and can help you get closer to winning the game. He's good at most points of a game, and for that reason, I'm recommending him today. Number 5 is Garruk, plain, simple Wildspeaker. Speaking of untapping 2-mana sources, Garruk Wildspeaker is here, and he's insisting that he can do this better than Tezzeret. Well, not quite. He can't tutor. What he can do, though, is untap 2 target lands. In Commander, untapping 2 lands can give you access to way more mana than Tezzeret could ever give you, thanks to some of the more broken lands that are so often played in the format. Even if you can't afford a Gaia's Cradle and haven't figured out that you can just write Gaia's Cradle on a basic forest and say it's a Gaia's Cradle because it's just card. Anyway, that's another video. But Garruk can still untap the likes of Itlamok, Cradle of the Sun, Cabal Coffers, or Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx. Throw in Deserted Temple into the mix and you've got yourself more mana than you'll know what to do with. Garruk also shines in Enchantress builds that want to stack mana doubling effects on lands through auras like Fertile Ground or Dawn's Reflection. In a pinch, he can target an opponent's lands for political leverage too. If you're in an arch enemy situation, it might come up. His other abilities are pretty good too. Making a 3/3 beast is never bad, and having Overrun at a very achievable -4 is really not too shabby either. Coming in at number 4 is no. Oh, come on. Oko, Thief of Crowns, is everything wrong with Magic the Gathering game design. No, I'm sorry. Oko, Thief of Crowns, is the face of Throne of Eldraine. A face you've probably wanted to punch at some point, but face nonetheless. Honestly, it does pain me to add him to this list, as I feel like the card was a mistake in many ways. In all ways. I hate this card and everything it represents. Still, though, I'm being honest, and you came here to learn about the best Planeswalkers in Commander, and you know what? Oko is one of the best. Better than everyone we've mentioned so far for Commander. Oko is a 4 loyalty Planeswalker for 3 mana. His +2 creates a food token, which can be sacrificed to gain some life. His +1 turns an artifact or creature into a 3/3 elk with no abilities. Yep, that's right. Oko just invalidates commanders, leaving them stuck in play as a 3/3 elk. He also takes away early game mana rocks and can leave a Burnished Heart looking decidedly in need of polishing. This ability is insanely good. Unfun good. Especially because it leaves Oko on 5 loyalty. He can just keep ticking up like this for the rest of the game, and provided you can protect him with blockers of your own, those elk aren't going to be much of an issue. It's dastardly, and I don't like it, but I have to admit it is powerful. And it doesn't end there, though. Oko also has a relevant -5 ability. You can exchange control of target artifact or creature you control, and target creature an opponent controls with power 3 or less. This is another way to infuriate the rest of the table, and Oko even provides the artifact you can give in exchange. A food token. Trade their Mana Crypt for food, or their Golos, Tireless Pilgrim, for food. Seedborn Muse? Yup, that's a food. I hate this card so much. I hate everything about it. It makes me just don't like it. Why is this here? Why did we do this? How did this happen to this game that I once loved? What is happening to Commander? My channel, my life? Who am I anymore? Ashiok, Dream Render, is number 3. Forget mass land destruction, forget Armageddon, forget ruination. What you need is Ashiok, Dream Renderer. People complain, and rightly so, that green ramp and value is forever edging away from the upgrades other colors get. It can be frustrating to watch the green player drop Azusa, Lust But Seeking, Oracle of Moldiah, and cultivate one after the other. Many Magic the Gathering players feel this justifies running mass land destruction. And honestly, it does. I run land destruction. I run mass land destruction. Have you seen my Zozu or Felden deck lists? Ooh, yeah, I'm running ruination. But honestly, these green decks are the decks best able to bounce back from that play in the first place. Cutting them off of searching out lands is the play, and Ashiok Dream Render does this and more. Ashiok's static ability ability, there we go with the static abilities again, states that spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause their controller to search their library. This is a very strong effect, and it's made stronger by being asymmetrical. This effect doesn't stop you from tutoring or ramping, so knock yourself out. This shuts down fetch lands. This shuts down tutors. This shuts down even the lowliest of low, rampant growth. Ashiok can completely halt entire game plans when they come down on turn 3, and with 5 loyalty, they're likely to be able to stick around at least a few turn cycles. Ashiok also has another relevant ability. They mill an opponent, or you if you like, 4 cards, and then they exile each opponent's graveyard. Exiling graveyards is always good, and if you're playing against any decks with combos or cards you think you can't beat, then spinning the wheel on this and hoping to hit something good before Ashiok is removed from play isn't the worst odds. Alright, what is the second best Planeswalker for Commander? It's Ugin the Ineffable, which is a rather bad name because if this resolves, you're going to be hearing a lot of Fs coming your way. Ugin the Ineffable is perhaps one of the most underrated walkers of the last year or so. The biggest thing to shout about when it comes to Ugin, do you get it? Ugin? Yeah, you get it, is the -3 ability. Being able to destroy a permanent that's 1 or more colors is a boon to black and red decks, and is versatile removal for other colors too. Take that, oubliette. Ugin also has a relevant +1 ability. He creates a 2/2 blocker, and when that creature token leaves the battlefield, you'll get the card exiled from the top of your library under it to your hand. Let me just break that down. He makes blockers, effectively draws cards, and has mostly unconditional removal. Isn't that everything you want on a Planeswalker, but available to every single deck? No matter what colors you're in, you can run Ugin the Ineffable. What's that? You're saying you want a mana ability too? Greedy. Who do you think you are? Play design? Well, Ugin's got you there too. Colorless spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. Not 1, but 2 less. That's bonkers good. The obvious synergy with morph creatures aside, Ugin can seriously enable any deck that likes to use artifacts. Dropping a Signet or a Thought Vessel for free, or a Sword of the Animist feels great. And if you're dropping in mana rocks, you can have turns where you can empty your entire hand onto the board. Ugin obviously enables combo decks that want to storm off with artifacts. Casting Sensei's Divining Top for free is at the heart of many a combo, after all. Where Ugin really shines is in Mardu and Boris decks that love removal and want to play equipment for cheap. But he's really good basically everywhere, and I seriously think you can do a lot worse than this always easy to cast Planeswalker. Alright, so what's the #1 pick for best Planeswalker for Commander as a part of the 99? Well, it's Ugin! Again! Just a different Ugin! Ugin's everywhere. It's Ugin, the spirit dragon. Always has been. Boy, oh boy, was I glad for the reprint of this powerhouse in Core 2021, because he deserves to be in way more commander decks than he's in. And that's mainly due to price of admission. He's now a much more reasonable $25 or so. So grab one in the next few months before it starts to rise once more, which I assure you it shall do. Ugin costs a hefty 8 mana, but it's colorless mana, which means it's easy to get with artifact ramp and doesn't have any annoying color requirements. Like with our #2 pick, this Ugin can go in any deck. The real reason to run Ugin is for his -X ability. You get to exile each permanent with converted mana cost X or less that's 1 or more colors. Considering Ugin comes in at 7 loyalty, this can basically wipe the board in most cases. What makes this good is that you can preempt it and focus on playing out your artifacts which won't get hit. You can also set it to be a number less than your best creature and keep it. Once the wipe happens, Ugin can very quickly get back to a position where he can threaten to wipe again, thanks to being able to lightning bolt for +2 loyalty. This can take out creatures that might want to attack Ugin and is a great deterrent. Keep in mind that Ugin has the ability to do a blanket exile effect which gets around hexproof, gets around shroud, and gets around indestructible. Ugin is a panic button, and he works almost every time. If we can get him to ultimate territory, well, it's pretty busted, but good luck with that. Nobody is letting Ugin stay in play. Now I want to hear from you. What Planeswalkers do you think are the best specifically for Commander in the 99? Let me know in the comments below. And special thanks once again to sponsor of this video, Raycon. Be sure to go to buyraycon.com/Tolarian community or click the link in the description now to get 15% off your first purchase. Think of the savings. Think of the value. Think of the quality of product. Think of your neighbors. Think of many things. Just click, check it out. 45-day return policy, that's good.